No sharing audio there with us. I need the vibe. Now I do. Now I got the
Getting
vibe.
louder.
Yeah, need the vibe. Otherwise, the intro doesn't work right. Count me down again. Run it back.
We'll do it live.
Oh, I'm dead serious.
You like that in the music? See, I don't mind the
silent intro?
That's all right.
Here we go. Oh, you could have gone live the whole time. I thought we were live.
We were.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show presented by Prize Picks. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafy_D on the Twitters, LOUGHY_D. Joined, as always, every Tuesday for the 15th time this week, and who knows how many times in our lives, Ben Rasa at JazzRazDFS. We're talking Saturday football. Now, for those of you that like to schedule things, are meticulous about the way your weekly schedule looks, today, Saturday first look. Tomorrow, Sunday first look. Thursday, breaking everything down. And then Friday, we'll have a final look on Saturday. We'll have live before live, deeper dive on Saturday. And that all culminates into our normal Sunday schedule with like 4+ hours of shows leading up to lock. Ben wanted to get that out of the way, but as always, happy to see you, man.
I'm happy to see you too. I'm not even, we're gonna learn about my schedule on the fly. So are we on the show Saturday?
I'm not. I can't.
I don't think I am either. I don't even know. I got to get that in order. But regardless, I am here right now on this Tuesday morning, trying to take a Zen-like approach to the show. I like this show quite a bit. The last couple days in the life of Ben Rasa, I cannot buy a bucket. Not even like I'm ice cold. Just the stupidity of what's going on out there, particularly around NFL. It can be frustrating at times.
You did buy 5 buckets yesterday, and it was all from Giddy and Anthony Edwards.
Shout out Bet Pro. I mean, just 100% for 3. But not even that. I sit down. First of all, I spend more time on Showdown than I normally do. Like I build 20 lineups.
You're locked in. You're locked in.
Locked in. Like I really, really like the slate. I had a big position on the Cardinals in pick'em pools. Really important. Like 2 seconds in. 2 seconds, Kyler's gone. Just, it could have been 16-7. They still could have won the game. They fumbled for a touchdown. That was as frustrating as it gets. And it comes on the back of, I've already seen it in chat. No, I did not play Evan Ingram, obviously.
Ben DM'd me saying, is there anything worse? I'm paraphrasing here. Than people reaching out to you on Twitter and everywhere and Slack. Hey, how about that Ingram? Where it's like, is he supposed to be excited? Because we all know that we didn't really talk much. I mean, look, Chigo Conquo, nice consolation prize. He wasn't winning you any tournaments, but he was nice. But you needed Ingram. And you've been on that guy all year long. And now people are just taking salt and digging it into the 7-inch laceration that's gutted you across the waistline.
It's not good. Yeah, no, I mean, the well wishes are but it's just so, that's been my theme. You want to get to week 14 recap themes. A lot of stuff that I held on as long as I could started to come to fruition, and I wasn't there to take advantage of it. Guy like Evan Ingram, played him repeatedly this year to no success. I have shorted the Giants, the Seahawks at length. I have shorted the Dolphins at length. all of these teams are starting to really crumble. And I'm taking advantage of it a little, but man, could I have used this earlier in the year with some of my strongest positions on some of these teams.
Big time. Where you're like sitting real nice and Ingram has 1 for 7. I get it.
Those were the good games. 1 for 7. Yeah. That's been nice.
Says, how about that Judy performance, Laffy? Yeah, cool. I mean, look, yeah, before Wilson got his lights turned off, he was looking good. But the thing is, though, the problem with that is that most people that have been riding Denver heavy all season long through the first 13 weeks, they were already living on the street, so they probably weren't playing him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably at this point a vagrant by now.
That's what I'm saying. I'm half a vagrant. That's why I couldn't short. Like, you can't play Ingram forever.
Right. You can't. Right.
You have no money.
Like, if you're stacking the Broncos 13 straight weeks, like just heavy exposure to the Broncos, you've been annihilated so far.
Yeah. I thank God Sutton was not there, because I probably would have done that to no success again. But no, it was just a weird situation. And that's just, I mean, that's everything in general. When you have, I'm not going to get too philosophical. You got DFS, which is instant. It's one game. It's one slate. Gelling with it's 18 weeks, and the ebbs and flows for some of these teams. People anoint teams. Yeah. Oh my God. This team's amazing, or not. Maybe they just look at the Lions on the other side. And I was on the wrong side. Like, the Lions clearly are not a 1-6 team. Never should have been there. Never should have been there.
Right. And the Giants weren't a 6-1 team or whatever it was.
Correct.
Yeah. Like, they technically were, but they aren't.
But we knew, again.
We lost our asses a couple weeks on that because we were ahead of it, and not like making excuses, but I remember you and me talking about this every week, going, I can't understand. I can't really wrap my head around how this continues to transpire every week. And the wheels have since fallen off.
That's what happens when, again, sometimes it's such hardest thing maybe in DFS and betting is balancing sticking to your convictions through some bad ebbs and flows and being stubborn. Because just blindly picking a team and refusing to acknowledge that you may have misjudged the team is just as destructive as saying, oh, I guess I was wrong on this team after 2 weeks, and changing everything that you thought. That has been a real difficult pain point. And some of these teams and some of these players, I finally almost, quote unquote, gave up the minute that it started to regress. And that is extremely frustrating.
Yeah, man. Mr. D Go Blue. What's up, man? Great call on Miles Sanders, Lobby. Thanks, dude. But listen, this guy is 5th in rushing yards. He is 3rd in rushing touchdowns. He is RB8 on the season. He's playing. These are just good spots, though. Like, you have to pick and choose your Miles Sanders spots. The Eagles can kill you in any way, but he looked awesome. Another career high in rushing yards. That was huge. That helped me a lot. That helped me to a winning week. Nothing crazy. I think like 2.5x, but after last week, Ben, I would have taken break even, because last week was rough for me.
Break even? I would sell a kidney for a break even on Sunday. This was not my week. I was bad on set. Just not my week. We'll put it at that. Betting was good. Betting has been good because of the Niners. The Niners, I don't really
all
understand.
Over that.
I don't know what's going on here. Tampa is not good. Tampa's not a good team.
That's another example. It's funny you say that, because I'm waiting to come into week 15 and people to say the Broncos got it figured out. Just like people were saying, hey, I think Tampa figured something out because they scored 14 points in 2 minutes after going 3 points in 50. Am I wrong though? People are going to be like, yeah, I think they may have figured it out. I thought the Broncos would get up for that game. I said so much myself in the betting video. I didn't think that they would go nuclear on offense at all, but I thought they'd get up and keep that game competitive throughout. It was a home game against the Kansas City Chiefs, a divisional spot. I'm not sold on the Broncos after one game.
They lost too. Like, let's
yeah, well, sure, but you know what I mean. I
mean, everyone's like, man, the Broncos, they figured out how to lose. Like, they've been doing that all year.
And now their defense collapsed.
Break.
Who knows? Lions look good though, man.
Lions are good. They might make the playoffs. They really have a shot.
I think they can. Like, I think think about this. You're not a Seattle guy, right? And you were
No.
right. They're
Seattle's
starting to,
done.
they're cratering, right? They're cratering. I do think they keep it close on Thursday against San Francisco. You and I talked about that a little bit. I'm not
That's
saying
a
they win.
Bad
But it's
spot for San Francisco.
What?
Bad spot for San Francisco. Yeah.
I think like 21-17 wins San Francisco. I still think they win, but it's a spot where you need to win if you're Seattle, because right now they're behind Washington and the Giants by a half a game because those scoundrels tied a couple weeks ago. But you look at like Seattle right now, they don't look great. Giants look terrible. They are. The Lions are objectively a significantly better team than the Giants. You would at least agree with that, right? Even though you're not a big Lions guy.
Yeah. The Lions are very dangerous.
So they can make it. They can squeak in for sure. It's going to be fun. Anything else before we dive into this? Anything else from a recap perspective? I think we hit on some of the big things. I know.
I got one, so I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Oh, and I should add too that I turned yesterday's game off while it was still in the first quarter because, the betting video I did and the two bets that I had, the two props, I didn't like a side on that game. The two props were Kyler Murray over rushing yards and Devontae Parker over receiving yards. And he was well on his way. I was at a 39.5. It even came down. You could have got it. He's at 24 in the first quarter. And then boom, he's done. So I literally turned that game off in the first quarter. I know you suffered through it, but
for a little while, I pouted after DeAndre Hopkins just gave him a touchdown. I gave up, and then I did I woke up thinking maybe the Cardinals came back, but I knew.
Did you?
Oh, I did a slow squeeze.
That's Ben's process for anyone wondering.
Oh yeah, I love the slow squeeze, but I kind of knew that and then the Cardinals scored no points in the second half. So excellent strategy.
It was Times Square, right? Yeah, New York City for the FSGA. And I came in and Ben's on the laptop and he's going action. Like this. And he's slowly going down. And I didn't even have to add. Like I knew because I do weird stuff like that too. He slowly reveals the scores to see where he's at. I can appreciate that. But I wanted to give you the floor before we kick off the 3-game Saturday slate. It's ugly, by the way, for those of you guys wondering.
It's definitely ugly. Go ahead.
I wanted to give you the floor on the Dolphins. I know both of us like the Chargers a lot this week. Not just to cover, but potentially win outright in this one, which they did. One of the only touchdowns for the Miami Dolphins was a Tyreek Hill fumble recovery, Treylon Burks style. But you've been on record the past couple of weeks saying you are not a believer in this Miami Dolphins team, and it sure looked like you're on the right track after Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I'm gonna save some of my thoughts because we're graced by the Dolphins on this very slate.
That's right.
I wanted to just get this out of the way. Last thing I want to say: anybody can be beat. The Texans had the Cowboys dead to rights in that game. Didn't win the game, but it just shows these 17 points. Like the NFL, even in those type of games, you can see anyone can beat anyone. The Texans really had a chance to actually win.
Isn't that
crazy?
Dude, I had people over. I had family over for that Texans game, and people and everyone's like, "Why didn't they kick the field goal?" It's like you're a 1-10-1 team.
Go.
You're trying to dagger it because if you get it was a horrible play call, by the way. But am I wrong? Like you're trying to dagger it. The win actually means nothing. You're better off losing in the grand scheme of things. But if you got a chance to win, go for the dagger there. You're not kicking a field goal to go up by, what would it have been? 6 points, right? And then Dallas scored anyway from their own 1. So you got to go for it there. They just stink. They're a bad team.
No argument. I totally get it. Came up a little short. I was just making a larger point about those crazy big spreads. I know it's inconceivable. It's so many people on Sunday.
Right.
Oh, the Cowboys, they won't be throwing the ball at all because they're going to be up 40. Like maybe, but maybe not. It's very difficult to blow teams out, especially when everyone thinks you're going to blow them out.
And CeeDee Lamb still stunk in that game.
I know. I played him quite a bit. Obviously.
In a way, I was relieved because I had mentioned that everyone take the Dallas money line on the DraftKings read.
Yeah, I mean that's where I'm at right now. Where I'm sweating the 5 into 150 with like minus 6,000 shots. Never mind my bets. Like, can I just push across the money line?
All right, let's talk some football. I'm very happy to have you guys with us. Always got to get a recap in at the beginning of the week. It's important, right? For us, it's cathartic. But hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so, because that's even more important to all of us. It helps us keep the lights on. If one day this show just doesn't happen and Ben and I are on the street, that is because you didn't hit the thumbs up button. Think about that. Think about the responsibility that you have to keep us alive, metaphorically and literally speaking. I'm not sure Ben would make it as a street person.
I barely make it not being a street person, so it doesn't seem like that would help. No.
And subscribe to the channel too. We're trying to hit 100K subs sometime in the near future. It would be awesome. And if you're listening in podcast form, leave a rating, a review, all that stuff, super helpful. Subscribe to the pod. And then YouTube, if you're listening after the fact, comments down below. Ben and I love reading the comments down there. We truly do. Always one that's like, oh, I hate this shit. Stop talking random nonsense. And then everyone piles on them. And I'm like, there, you know what?
Yeah. I have a little random nonsense later in the show. I will say that.
Okay. Okay. So let's do it. Kick it off with week 15, Saturday, 3-game slate. We love this. We love 3-game slates. Even though Ben will tell you they never go well for him, he still loves them. At quarterback,
very true.
I don't think anyone is, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being dead serious. I don't think anyone is even remotely close to Josh Allen this week.
So it's very interesting. I agree. But is anyone close to Josh Allen in price either? No.
So other than Lamar, kind of, but if he plays,
and that's a weird situation. You're talking about a quarterback with a knee issue that his asset is running, and that could be different. Now, I'm gonna move to what you kind of probed me to talk about Miami. Miami had heaters on the sidelines in Los Angeles. How pathetic. Like, are you kidding me? It's 55 degrees inside and you need to bring heaters to the game. Good luck in this spot.
They have no, I mean, hold on, Jordan, what's wrong?
Oh, you. Okay.
What was the temperature? 50s?
50. It was like 52, 53. It
Dude,
was freezing.
That is not freezing.
Don't speak.
In LA, like 52 degrees, we wear puffer coats out here at 50 degrees.
If you need, hold on. Ben's making a very valid point here, and you're saying it was free. You're an NFL football team, and you have heaters in LA. In LA, Jordan, listen, I understand that is cold. I get to you that is cold. I'm going outside. Right now it's 30. I woke up, it was 22. And I took my daughter outside. She wanted to look at the moon, right? Because she woke up at like 6 o'clock. We go outside, we're looking at the moon. I'm in socks and a sweatshirt and sweatpants. It's like 19 degrees out. And these guys need heaters, professional NFL players. Come on.
Jordan.
My daughter was in a sweatshirt and just pants. She's 1.5.
This is why he won't come visit me in New York. I keep saying, come on out, man. I want you to come hang in New York. Apparently you'll have to wait till July. Buffalo at night. I can tell you this. I'm an actual doctor, not a meteorologist. It's not going to be 52 degrees. They're lucky if it breaks 20 degrees. So that's going to be a big problem for Miami. But Josh Allen, 7.5-point favorite at home. He can run, he can throw. They're starting to get it together. Respect the Jets defense enough to not hold it against him that he had a methodical game last time out. He is the best quarterback. It's just you're paying almost a couple grand more than everyone else if you play him.
No doubt. And I thought it was hilarious that when you had joked about being a doctor on Twitter, and someone's like, man, Ben, you're really humble. You never actually talk about being a doctor.
Yeah, well, it's a couple things about me. Not a doctor. I told chat my middle name was Zonovan for Zonovan Knight. That's also not true. Other than that, though, everything I've said on these shows is 100% true.
Right.
But I am not a doctor.
But you're right about Josh Allen. He is more expensive, but what's the spread on this game right now?
7.5.
What?
7.5.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it didn't open at 7.5 because maybe it did. Okay. 7.5 seems about right. Yeah, you're right though. If you're talking, this is going to be. Are you looking at Tua Tagovailoa as? Do you want to stack Miami here?
No.
Listen, I know, I understand everything you were saying. I know it's contradictory to everything you were saying, but it's just I'm going to go down the list of quarterbacks here and kind of lay out where I'm at because the fact being that this is not a T. Higgins, Jamar Chase team. This isn't even an AJ Brown, Devonta Smith team where he's, mid 6K. This is not one of these teams where you're paying a premium on all the pass catchers. Gabe Davis, I will go back. I'm telling you now, it's ugly. We'll definitely be going back to Gabe Davis this week, whether it kills me or not. McKenzie, cheap. Dawson Knox, cheap. I would go out on a limb and say at 8,100, Stephon Diggs is also underpriced in this spot and my favorite of the three top tier receivers. So while Allen and Diggs are both 80 or 8K plus, the stack is not going to be that difficult. Dawson Knox is sub 4K. Isaiah McKenzie's what, like 4K flat or 4,200 or something like that. This is not going to be that. And I think Davis is 55,000 or 5,100. That at least alleviates some of the pressure of paying up for him and Diggs. But if you're to go down this list, all right, Deshaun Watson against Baltimore. I thought maybe you could see him, revived after last game or after that first game. He looked horrible on Sunday in his second game back. Kirk Cousins is at least interesting. You might even be able to make an argument for Matt Ryan, to be honest with you. But none of these guys do you feel confident in like you would with Josh Allen. Am I wrong about that?
Definitely not wrong. Totally agree. I'm comfortable rolling the dice, though. Certainly, I think Kirk Cousins is going to get some love, and we'll see how this progresses with the tools here at Stokastic. I'm fine with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson looked awful, and he still put up a fine performance. Not what we're really looking for, but this is different. This is only a 3-game slate. There's a real chance if Josh Allen doesn't perform, it's up for grabs. And I don't think Watson can play much worse. He threw the ball 42 times. He's given you, non-zero rushing yards, and that's going to continue. At home against Baltimore, I thought Baltimore was very fortunate. One of the many things that I had to deal with, they didn't get a fair Pickett got mutilated immediately.
Yeah.
Trubisky can't, that's not a fair assessment of what would have happened in that game.
And I have no idea what the quarterback situation is going to look like for Baltimore because Lamar might not play. Tyler Huntley with the concussion might not play. We could legitimately be looking at Anthony Brown.
Okay. I'm not going to play Anthony Brown if that's what you're asking.
What I'm saying is all of Baltimore from a quarterback position could be a wash on a 3-game slate.
It could render the whole team basically useless.
Yeah. Well, I don't think so necessarily. I think Dobbins and Gus Edwards are both going to be firmly in play because if Cleveland's offense continues to spin their wheels, this could be another game where Dobbins and Edwards are combining for like 30 carries, like they did yesterday or Sunday.
I really like Cleveland in the game. I think that unless Baltimore needs a quarterback, they're not going to be able to roll in there with Anthony Brown. No offense to Anthony Brown, but yeah, for me, Allen, if I can afford him, Watson and Cousins. I'll keep it very simple. I'm not playing Tua. Don't really want Matt Ryan, and I have no clarity on who's going to be under center for Baltimore.
Gotcha. I still have interest, and we'll get there, in Indy pass catchers because there's some real cheap ones like Pierce is sub 4K. You're going to have to make some concessions there. And I think that's where it'll probably open up the Josh Allen stacks because if you're stacking Josh Allen, are you looking to run it back with a Hill or a Waddle? That's where it gets real difficult because Tyreek Hill is still insanely expensive. You want to talk running backs then, and we'll dig deeper into the wide receiver position when we get there?
What'd you say?
I said, you want to talk running backs now? And then once we get the receivers, we can dig a little bit deeper into some value there as well.
Yeah. I mean, the stacks, again, we have to approach this with a Thanksgiving mentality. Like it's just not the same as a full slate. So I think that's kind of where we're at. Running back. I mean, they're cheap, but we got elite running. Like this is not a slate devoid of top end talent.
It's not. And we'll talk about it. Before we do though, you see that at the top of the banner? It says, we'll match your first deposit up to $100. That's Prize Picks, sponsor of the strategy show. Not only that, it should say, We'll match your first deposit up to $100. And if you use the link, and it's a Stokastic Strategy Show chat or description, you'll also get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. All of their tools, $120 value, not just for football, but for every single sport there is, including all of their player prop data for Prize Picks. That would be tough to fit in there, Ben. You probably wouldn't see our faces, but it would make more sense.
It would. But that's okay. Still makes sense. You mentioned what we got going on here. A lot of different things. For someone like me who loves so many different sports, real good things over there. You can mix and match. We've got World Cup action. There's a taco on the screen. See that? Got a lot going on.
All you're doing is building parlays, but they don't call them parlays. The difference is if you hit 5 of them, if you hit all 5, you 10x. If you hit 4 of 5, unlike a traditional book where you would just get nothing, you still 2x on 4 of 5. You still make money back on 3 of 5. You can do a power play too, where you go with a 4-player lineup. It's just all props, over or under, no juice on either side. Like Ben said, an insane variety of sports. You can mix and match all of them. If you hit 4 of 4 on the power play, you 10x. Now, you can't be risk averse, because if you only hit 3, you don't make anything back. But there's a lot of different ways to play. Amazing way to build your bankroll, sustain a bankroll, because you can hit 4 or 3 and still make money back, but also ways to hit big playing, whether it's football, basketball, college basketball, all of these sports, PGA, NASCAR, MMA are all there. And you get a free month. All of our tools, $120 value, including our new lineup generator, ownership projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool for every sport that's out there. If they have contests, DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever, we got content, tools, projections, you name it. Take advantage of it. Links in the description, links in the chat. $100 first match deposit bonus at Prize Picks when you use the link, plus our entire site, plus the premium Discord for it's $120 value, all for the entire month. So check it out. Prize Picks, sponsor of the Strategy Show. Running backs. You say it's not devoid of talent up top. I agree. But there isn't one guy that I think is in a smash spot either, from Nick Chubb to Jonathan Taylor to Dalvin Cook. Then it falls off a cliff from there. 7,400, 7,200, 6,900, all the way down to a $5,500 Devin Singletary.
Normally on a full slate, we're dealing with kind of like linear pricing, incremental. You have pivots. Here it's, like you said, cliffs. I don't think there's a guy in a smash spot per se, but I do think that Jonathan Taylor is in a very good spot. He's got 20 or more carries in 4 straight games. He's got 4 targets in 3 straight games. So you're looking at like 25 total touches against the Minnesota team. I mean, they're back at home and they're the rightful favorites, but it's a 4.5 point spread, 48.5 point total, clearly the healthiest on this slate. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is the logical top end running back to pay for, but you can get 2 if you want, for sure.
I'm with you. The reason I didn't say that he's in a smash spot is because it's still the Colts. It's still the Colts. It's still the Colts offense. They are still a bad team that will find ways to lose. They refuse to use Jelani Woods too. I don't understand that. That guy could be.
I forgot about that guy.
He could be explosive. I'm going to have some this week at 2,700. Just tease that a little bit once we get to tight ends. My favorite pick, or my favorite option here, would be Jonathan Taylor for sure. I mean, they need him to stay competitive. And to be fair, they stayed competitive. If you look at the final score of that Cowboys game, you're like, man, what a blowout this was. If you watch that game through the first 3+ quarters, you'd realize that it was a 2-point game heading into the 4th. It was crazy. It was one of the strangest conclusions to a game in the final 13 minutes or whatever that I've seen in a long time. But Taylor would be the guy for me. There's no question about it. I don't hate Nick Chubb. I have no issues with Dalvin Cook. I'm more curious to know where you're at on Dalvin Cook, just given that this guy has done you real dirty all season long.
Yes, Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is on the Cam Akers path to 100 yards. He just needed 66 carries against Detroit, and he would have sailed right there. He's averaging 1.5 yards a carry. I also don't understand. Early in the game, I looked at the box score. Dalvin Cook had like 6 carries for 15 yards. I'm like, all right, he's getting a little work. He's got to start opening it up. I came back. He had like 11 carries for 6 yards. So he managed to lose like 9 yards. I don't understand. Now he did score. He's getting the work. This is what I was talking about at the top of the show. Dalvin Cook in theory, should be performing. I don't know if it's an offensive line issue. I don't know if it's a Dalvin Cook issue. But if you're getting 17, 20 touches and a couple of them are targets, he's obviously a red zone guy. I don't know what the issue is, but it's not working right now. So I have, of course, interest on a 3-game slate, but I have him firmly behind Jonathan Taylor.
Sub 7K, but also with context to the entire slate, DraftKings intentionally prices some of these guys down.
They have to, yeah.
Yeah. I like some value. I honestly do like J.K. Dobbins. I think Gus Edwards is fine as well. I don't want him in the same lineup because I don't anticipate this being, a particularly high scoring game, 37.5 point total. It should be pretty ugly, but I'm not opposed to the idea of getting these guys mix and match throughout my lineup. I like Dobbins a little bit more in a spot like this. He came back off of the IR and immediately led the team in snaps. That was encouraging. Led the team in carries and yards, got in the end zone. I don't hate that whatsoever. Now, it's Baltimore, and the run game is always going to drive you nuts. But if you're looking for cheap options, there's not a lot here. Like the few guys that I counted, I could count on one hand. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, 5,200 and 5,000 respectively. James Cook, only because while he saw less work than Singletary last week, I think this is going to be a week-to-week approach with no definitive option, and they played close to the same amount of snaps. So give me the guy that's almost $1,000 cheaper. That's kind of just my thinking here, especially against Miami, and I think he has nice pass catching upside. And then Kareem Hunt at 4,300, and that does not feel good.
There's not much else to say. You're looking at some value backs and large field tournaments just to be different on a 3-game slate. The Baltimore backs are really as low as you can go and feel solid about the volume.
Agreed.
I can't say it any simpler than that.
I agree. I mean, if it's Cook or Singletary for you, who are you going?
Cook, but there's no way to know what you're going to get with either of them.
Exactly. But here's what I will say. You will end up with some of these guys in your lineups. It's unavoidable.
You have to.
It's unavoidable. And then if Jeff Wilson doesn't play, Myles Gaskin hasn't even been active. You probably, as gross as it feels, you probably have to play some Raheem Mostert as well, or at least consider him.
You definitely have to consider him, but again, he's going to be the pay down running back that everyone gets to. Like he's not going to be, if it's solidified there. No, again, I don't know if Miami can even get off the bench in Buffalo because this team, you got to be kidding me. But Mostert of their guys, he'd probably be one of the ones I have more interest in than most.
How much do you think that cold weather is going to affect them this week?
A lot.
Yeah.
That's real cold. It's not Jordan Klein cold. That's actually where it's cold.
Yeah. Earlier when we were talking about this in chat, who was it? Somebody mentioned, I'd like to put a name to the comment, but somebody said, I'll take 50 degrees in December any day of the week. Like, yeah.
Buffalo at night, and it's supposed to snow. Good luck.
It's not going to end well for him.
No.
I mean, granted, 7.5 points is a lot. Do you think this could turn into a rout?
Oh yeah. Miami's that type of team. I've said that for a while. Like Miami, and you said that about Miami's the type of team, if it's not working, it's not working. Yep. They get blown out, and then when it's working, they look unbeatable.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Same thing about I mentioned Giants. The Eagles either rout them or they probably lose in a close game. That game at no point was competitive. At no point was they just shit on them because the Giants aren't good. The Dolphins are a better team than the Giants by far. By far. They still have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That's, all you need to know. But do you think Tua's performance early in the season was unsustainable? Like, is that a lot of why you think they're overrated? Because we already know their pass defense isn't good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's a perfect segue if you want to talk some wide receivers.
That's exactly where I was trying to take you. So.
Yeah, it's not that it's unsustainable. I think that part of it is scheme oriented, and teams are starting to figure out how to limit some of what they're doing. But you've still got elite players, and what they did, which is super interesting, they priced down running back. you're paying premiums for the big dogs
Yep.
at wide receiver. 9,100 for Jefferson, flat 9 for Tyreek. Diggs is over 8K. And then you've got Waddle as the only guy in the 7s, and he's flat 7. So we're going to have to see what's going on with Tyreek Hill. It's a kind of a short week, one less day. Of course, if he sits, Waddle and Sherfield, whoever the hell's out there, are going to be instant plug and plays in some regards. I think I would go Jefferson over Tyreek, but I think most people would do that. So I don't really have a ton to say at the top.
It's tough because I'm with you where you have to think Jefferson's going to be more popular than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill too, in the first game against Buffalo this year, he had 2 receptions for 33 yards. It was by far his worst performance of the season. Aside from that, though, he's just been excellent. You have Tre'Davious White back. I'm still never counting Tyreek Hill out. And Jefferson's just a monster. When you can drop 36 DraftKings points without scoring a touchdown, you know you're pretty damn good. But I got to tell you, I like Diggs the most here. And now I get, you know what? This is tiered oddly because there's one tier, then Diggs is on an island, right?
Yep.
And then Waddle's on an island. So there's distinguishable tiers, but some of them only have one player in them. I really like Stephon Diggs a lot this week at 8,100. I think he should be a lot closer in price to Tyreek Hill, given the respective matchups than he is. And it's something I plan on taking advantage of.
I mean, no argument. I like Diggs quite a bit too. One off or pairing with Allen. You have 3 wide receivers total in the 6, 7, and 8K range.
That's it.
That is it. So you're talking about Tyreek to Michael Pittman. There are only 3 players between them, and you're paying a $3,200 difference. That is just a really unique game theory situation that we have to deal with. So you're not going to be able to pivot off Waddle, off Diggs with corollary price points. You can leave money on the table, of course. Amari Cooper, I mean, listen, if I played Deshaun Watson, getting word on Amari Cooper being good to go would go a long way. Obviously, DPJ as well. But I think those are targets that I'm going to look at for Cleveland.
DPJ coming off a 12-target game.
He's getting a lot of steam out there.
I know. And see, that's the concern I have, because should DPJ, if you're asking me, would you rather play Donovan Peoples-Jones in a 37.5 total game coming off the 12-target performance, or would you rather play Gabe Davis, who's $100 cheaper? Hasn't been great. I get it. Hasn't been great, but has Josh Allen throwing to him against one of the more inferior secondaries in the league. I still like Gabe Davis more. I still think Gabe Davis would be more popular than DPJ.
Really? I don't.
Really?
I'm interested to see what our tools say. No, I don't.
Well, the way I see it is, do you think Josh Allen will be a lot more popular than Deshaun Watson?
I don't know about a lot. No.
Okay. Because if your answer to that is yes, then naturally you're just probably going to get funneled to more cheap wide receivers for Buffalo.
Even so, though, I would imagine a guy like DPJ is super correlated to Josh Allen this week, just because he's such he's a reasonable target to fill a receiver slot. Obviously, we know that Gabe Davis comes with the stack, but the amount of one-offs for DPJ in non-Brown stacks is really going to inflate the ownership more than Gabe Davis, not with Josh Allen teams.
Gotcha. Oh, I gotcha. All right. I think they're both going to be pretty popular.
I'd agree with that, too. Yeah.
Who do you like the least among the 3? They're all separated by $100 each. Well, 5K, 51, 52. Gabe Davis, DPJ, Adam Thielen.
Definitely can make a case for any of them. I'll say this. I like to do it the other way. Ask a question, target a question, and then fill in the guy. Who's most likely to score 30? To me, it's clearly Gabe Davis. Who's most likely to score 5? To me, it's clearly Gabe Davis. Who's more likely to score like 15?
I think it's Thielen.
I think it's Thielen too, but him and DPJ are very close there. And that's where I get tricky. So if I'm looking for an upside, Gabe Davis is that boom bust option. The other two are very close. Thielen's got the better total and the better situation. Yeah, I think that's where I lean, but it's really contextual based on the lineup.
Let's talk about a couple of these sub 5K players because it starts to get bunched up a little bit here, and nobody's going to get you excited, right? You're not going to get excited about these guys. There are a few though that I think are viable, and I'll throw a couple out to you. Get your takes. Isaiah McKenzie. Thanksgiving, you needed Isaiah McKenzie.
Of course you did.
Of course, right?
Dawson Knox just eating turkey on the sidelines. Isaiah McKenzie, why not?
He could also finish with 3 fantasy points. Like, that's very plausible here. But the breakdown in snaps for the Buffalo Bills is pretty appealing just because you've got, Gabe Davis too. He's still playing 90%+ of snaps every week. Like, the big game is still entirely possible for Gabe Davis. It hasn't happened recently, but see, I see this differently than the Tampa or Denver situations because it's still a capable offense. Like, he's still very cheap. There's still a good team. It just hasn't come his way yet. Diggs, McKenzie, you're going to get 90%+ of snaps from Davis. You're going to get around 80% from Diggs. And then you're going to get between 65 and 70 probably from Isaiah McKenzie. Then it's like Khalil Shakir getting a few snaps and that's it. So while yes, there's 3 of them, and then Dawson Knox, they are a pass heavy team. So there's just always that blow up potential here, especially against Miami and cold weather, like you noted earlier. I'm willing to rotate through any of these 3 receivers in Davis, Diggs, and even Isaiah McKenzie, but he's a third for me behind Diggs and then Davis.
Yeah. To me, the easy comparison is the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs put up so many points. They got 10 guys that can contribute. And the Bills have some of that. You don't know who it's going to be outside the alpha. And it could be McKenzie. It could be Knox. It could be someone random. But you still want exposure to them. I want to give a shout out to Alec Pierce. Some of these Colts pay downs. I think you can dart throw with a guy like that.
I think Pierce is nice, actually, at that price.
I've seen chat mention David Bell. Again, you're trying to beat 100,000 people on a 3-game slate. That's one way to be different. Does he make a lot of sense? I'd say no. I think he's more unnecessary than not, but these guys are playable. There's no doubt about that either.
He's a slot receiver who doesn't have more than 6 fantasy points in a game this season. And if your argument
showdown
is
mentality,
what?
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say this is a showdown mentality with a play like that. Like,
right. I know he's on the field, but it hasn't materialized into anything. And you can't really make an argument in good faith that right now Deshaun Watson is a considerable upgrade from Jacoby Brissett. So I'm not sure what gives there. Also, last week, David Njoku is seriously involved. This guy's playing almost 100% of snaps. So it's Njoku, it's Peoples-Jones, it's Amari Cooper. And then, of course, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt involved in the passing game. He's 1-2. I'd put him behind Hunt too. So he's 5th in the passing game pecking order, not even accounting for the fact that if they can, Cleveland is going to want to run the ball down Baltimore's throat.
Yeah, totally agree.
I'm with you 100% on Alec Pierce too. I would rather play Alec Pierce than Michael Pittman this week, not because I'm not a fan of Pittman as a player, but because when you have such an inferior, anemic offense in Indy, and then the target share has been all over the map, I'm not saying don't play Pittman, but if I can open up an extra $2,000 to get to another good player in a more confident situation, I'd probably just rather take Pierce.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with either of them, different price points, but don't be afraid to dip into these type of players. I have nothing else for wide receiver. I will say this has nothing to do with the slate. Did you know that John Brown is back on the Bills?
I saw he played 3 snaps last week.
He used to be amazing for them.
Yeah, he was.
Love that guy.
John Brown had some seasons, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same John Brown, right?
I mean, that's also very possible that it's not, but if it's not, what are you going to do?
It's got to be.
Got to be smoky.
Yeah, it is. It's got to be. Anything else? Is that it? You want to go to tight end here?
No, let's talk tight ends because there's, again, for a 3-game slate, some big time tight ends, available. It's not just all punts.
Yeah. But Andrews could be relegated to not unplayable status, but if it is Anthony Brown, that gets ugly real fast.
Even Unley, it was not good. I tried to target Andrews a little in that game, and it was a disaster. Hawkinson's the obvious target. Cousin stack, great game environment, highest total. You mentioned how involved Njoku is. 9 targets in that game against Cincinnati. They did throw the ball 42 times. To me, this is pretty simple. Like, you want to be living in the Hawkinson and Njoku Knox range. I don't see a huge need to get crazy unless something opens up. You mentioned like Jelani Woods and stuff like that, maybe as a dart throw, but you got 3 really good options right at the top besides Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a milli maker. There's milli makers out there. Going to be some large field kinds. Even like the $3, I would assume, is massive this week. Again,
huge.
Yeah. So if I'm saying like, where's a good place that I can completely punt, and it's also possible that if he only finishes with 4 fantasy points, it doesn't totally kill me. Probably tight end. Like, there's some big names. Well, a couple, but. And I don't know how Mike Gesicki isn't minimum salary by now. Like, the guy is a 0 every week.
Actual 0. He has no points since week 10.
And he's still the same. He's still almost the same. It's as expensive as Dawson. I'm not saying Dawson Knox has been great, but it seems odd to me. But David Njoku ran 44 routes last game. For the same amount as Amari Cooper, was on the field for 96% of snaps. That is a really enticing spot for me. That David Njoku is a good athletic player, end zone threat. I like 5,200 on him quite a bit this week. Dawson Knox, he's fine. He's fine against Miami. I'll always get. He has 2 14 fantasy point games over his last 4. He's also live to give you a pretty awful game as well. But so is everybody here. Ben.
There's a real chance that the tight end with the highest raw point total is like 11. Yeah. It could be one of those.
No, and I laugh at that only because it's true. There's a very good chance that the top scoring tight end finishes with 5 for 60 and no touchdowns.
Yep. And like, there's a couple tight ends that score and they have, 2 for 9 and a touchdown. And that's not that much better then that's like 8 points. So there's not a lot here. You think you could be creative? Last thing I'll say, you want to be different? 2 tight ends. Everyone's thinking I barely want 1. You can go like in Njoku and Hawkinson. They both go for 17 or 20. Different build.
That's the only reason I had success on Thanksgiving, was because I went with Schultz flexed in a lot of them with like a Dawson Knox at tight end. Because the thinking here, I'm glad you brought it up. The thinking here is really, okay, so I could go with a tight end, whoever, and then I'll just almost certainly, especially in expensive builds, and you're going to be paying for a lot of guys, I'll just go to one of these really cheap receivers.
Yep.
But, I mean, I'm not so sure that when you get into this really dirt low range of receivers, that it's that much different from a Dawson Knox being in your flex.
Again, everyone thinks the same way, especially initially. So just being different, you're drawing to a weird outcome like that. But it's very possible, as much as we said no one scores more than 10, you could have 2 tight ends that catch 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
That's possible. And if that happens, you're going to want a weird combo like that rather than an Alec Pierce, rather than a David Bell, rather than a James Cook. No, not at all. That correlation will kill all the Hawkinson ownership.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. Defenses. Listen, there's one
Here we go.
Dude, one so obvious defense. We always do below 3K. It is the most obvious defense below 3K that we've had in a while. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, Ben. But reminder for those of you guys, all 257 of you watching right now, if you don't, Prize Picks link in the description and in chat. If you don't have access to Prize Picks in the state that you're in, BetMGM link is down there too. Get you 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, plus up to $1,000 risk-free bet. All of your bets are risk-free, whether it's $10, which is all you have to deposit, or whether it's 1,000, 10, 11, 15, doesn't matter. All of them are risk-free, which means if you lose that bet, you get all of your money back in free bets. And these are not either or. You also get 2 free months of Stokastic plus Platinum. Just use the link down below, okay? Use the link down below in the description or in chat. Put $10 in or more, whatever you're comfortable with. Make any bet that you want. You can't do like an odds boost or whatever. Any bet you want. Once that settles, you'll get your 2 free months. You got to use the link, otherwise we can't find you. Once that settles, you'll get the free two free months. And if you lose the bet, whatever you lost comes back to you in free bets as well. It's just good, legitimately as good a deal that anyone's ever going to run, Ben. I'm saying that straight up because your bet doesn't need to win for you to get any of this.
No, and it's the best of both worlds. Like I said, if you're casual bettor, more of a DFS player, 2 free months of Stokastic Plus. Doesn't get better than that. If you're a heavy bettor, risk-free up to $1,000 and you're getting those tools. A lot of them are betting oriented. Just a really cool deal and one that truly, we always try to tell you guys this. This is not, we're not keeping this around forever for obvious reasons.
Check it out. Link in the description, especially if you're watching after the fact. It's still down there. BetMGM. Check them out. Get your 2. Come join the family over at Stokastic, if nothing else. It's only going to cost you $10 for 2 months. All right. I set the table for you. Perfect way to close the show. I'll be shocked if we're not on the same page here. Best defense under 3K.
Obviously, it's the Dolphins, going into just, oh, well, come on now. The Bills are, again, they might just have to show up and stand out there. They're going to be super popular. Let's be real. We all know that.
Are you picturing the Dolphins just like icicles standing out there shivering?
You know what's crazy? I'm not even picturing that. They're picturing themselves like that. Like they've already admitted that they can't handle the elements. Like that truly is. I've never seen a team struggle so much in mediocre weather like that.
Heaters in LA is like just
that's a joke.
A clear sign of raising the white flag. Like we're not tough enough.
Then you go into Buffalo, literally the worst spot you could be in.
It's amazing. $2,700 bills, right? Like that's the play right now.
It's the obvious cash play. If you're playing cash, I think you can pivot to any defense.
Ravens is viable too, I think.
Ravens. I think that if it's Anthony Brown, the Browns defense is
Big
a fantastic spot. So you have a lot of options.
Minnesota even.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we talk about under 3K. Usually there isn't a good one on a slate like this. This is it.
No. And of course, I'm not going to be here, but for people, maybe you're tuning in late. We're just talking Saturday. Sunday, you've got it covered with Neil tomorrow. Yep. You'll have a lot more options for these type of questions.
Hey, follow Ben at JazzRaz DFS, me at Loppy_D. Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing this one. Got his heater cranked up to 83 out there in Los Angeles. Ben and I'll brave the cold like men.
I love the cold. Love the cold.
I know. Appreciate you guys as always. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. Tell your friends about the strategy show, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. First look for the Sunday main slate. Peace.